What is up, everybody? Mark on the mic here, and we have 10 minutes-ish to talk about red dots on bows. And I'm not talking crossbows. I'm talking vertical bows. It seems like forever, red dots were an AR-15 thing, and then you see them migrate over to turkey guns, and all of a sudden they're the norm on carry pistols. And now, at least new to me, but probably not new, we're seeing them on bows for a variety of reasons. And to help us talk about red dots on bows, we have Tim Zelenka from talking about his ARD site. So, Tim, tell us a little bit about your company and your site and kind of where this all came from for you.
So basically, we're based in. We make the sites right in Zeeland, Michigan. I live in Grand Haven, not too far from there. We've been shooting red dots on our bows for 30 years, but they was always fixed. So wherever we sighted at 20 yards, we were stuck with 20 yards. If we wanted to shoot higher, we just had a gap shoot. And so finally, I met up with the right guy, and what we did was we were able to make our mount adjustable. So now it's sort of like a single pin slider, where we move the red dot up and down on the bow, for shooting out to 100 yards if that's what you really want to do. But the red dot in general is in kind of going down this road. Guys who, as they get older, who can't see those peeps and pins anymore, that's kind of really been our focus, and draws those guys in like crazy.
Yeah, I mean, is that predominantly who is gravitating towards this? That maybe the person who has shot a traditional pin sight for a number of years, but, maybe they're having trouble seeing through their peep, or those pins are getting a little bit fuzzy. Is that kind of the person that's generally migrating towards, this style of sight system?
I think so, because they're looking for answers. Nothing clarifier isn't working. Obviously everybody can use it. My kids use it from the time they started shooting bows at 10 years old. But I think those guys are flocking to it because they're not ready to shoot a crossbow.
Yeah, I mean, I know for me, and I've got nothing against crossbows. I am pro hunting across the board. I love hunting with a vertical bow, and I think about myself in that same context. I'm like, man, I would do anything to stay, in the game, and it seems like this is a really great solution to do that. Maybe talk a little bit, you're talking about the mount, which is at, kind of the heart of the system, works with a variety of red dots. You have a couple here. You've got our Spark Solar and the Crossfire red dot picture to, work with a variety of red dots, though. What's going on there? Before we started recording, you were kind of talking about how the mount works, and I found it really interesting.
So the guys, if you can see this, you're watching, as we don't just move the mount up and down on the riser like you would a single pin slider. It's moving up and down on an arc. And if you can hold your arm out in front of you and picture raising your arm as high up to your head and then down to your knee, that arc right there keeps that dot. Your body's the center of that circle. So whether we're at the 18th click down or we're shooting at 20 yards at the top, the dot is always aligned with our eye. We don't ever change our anchor point. It's right there. And that's the key to it. And the tolerances on this dovetail in there are a 0.5 thousandth. I don't know if you can see it. These are old mounts and stuff that didn't make it, but we can see a little play in here.
Okay.
This is one that doesn't cut it, but that little play is only 2 thousandths, and that's how there's some little detents in there that can give us these clicks up and down. But that's the key to it, is keeping those tolerances very tight. And obviously without the arc, it just wouldn't work. We would, every time we moved it, we'd have to change our anchor point.
Right. I mean, I think, if you've shot a bow or getting into shooting a bow, one thing that's super important is consistency, right? Like consistency from shot to shot. And yeah, if you're adjusting your anchor every time, that's just going to, I think that would just throw the whole thing off a little bit.
Yeah. For people that have shot a red dot. So you guys can probably elaborate on this. The only way to see that dot in the middle is to look right at it. So if we torque the riser at all, it'd be just like shooting a pistol and have your wrist turned. We can't see the dot. And so once we have it sighted in and we hand our bow to our neighbor, as long as he can see the dot, he's still going to hit the target. There could be some little tiny subtleties because maybe he grips the bow slightly different a little bit, but for the most part, once it's sighted in for the bow, it's sighted in for everybody that would pick that bow up.
Wow, that's super interesting. And you mentioned before, one of the reasons why a person, might need to transition to this style of system is like, oh, I'm having trouble seeing through my peep. There's no peep with this system.
We wrote a blog on it, the red dot's a single pin, a single system sight. We put the dot, we have target dot. We're not an iron sight where we have to go front sight, back sight, target. So in doing that front sight, back sight, target, like with an iron sight, our eyes are constantly changing our focus.
Mm-hmm.
With the red dot, we just look at the target and let the dot come into your view. So guys that are getting older and have those issues with trying to focus on stuff up close and then move it, it's a game changer.
So I would say, unlike when you mount like a red dot on like an AR-15 or something like that, like we would say, oh, this dot is parallax free, so maybe you're shooting at an awkward angle or something like that, but as long as you can put the dot on the thing and pull the thing, the bullet's going to go where it needs to go. But that's something that is a little bit different here. From what I gather, you do need to have that dot, essentially centered up in your field of view, yeah?
Yeah, because the difference with a bow is if it's not centered, it's because we're torquing that riser, we're twisting the riser. And the problem with that is as we twist the riser, our sight starts to point one way, but if we torque it enough, our arrow starts to point the opposite direction. And that's why we don't hit in the same spot. But as long as the dot's in the middle, now we know we're straight. So it kind of forces you to have good form.
Yeah, I mean, I bet it can certainly reveal some things that you might not even have known were there before at the same time.
Exactly. We'll have some bows and we don't know. It can happen. There can be so many different reasons why on a cam bow, why our string isn't perfectly centered down the bow. Maybe our cams are leaning a little bit one way or the other. And we immediately see that in a red dot when we draw back because we can't see the dot. Just 2 degrees of angle up here, which is equivalent to about 20,000, equates to that line of sight being an inch off at full draw.
Wow.
So just a little bit of this up front makes a huge difference. So if your bow is off a little, the red dot immediately tells you, hey, something's not quite right.
Interesting. Like a person might shoot their red dot on the AR or shotgun or pistol, are folks shooting both eyes open with this style as well?
Yep. You don't have to, but I would say I would recommend everybody shoot with both eyes open. We can see so much more, and it really teaches us to not focus on that dot. Mm-hmm. Just let the dot be there, and after a little bit, your muscle memory kind of takes over. It's kind of like sitting in your basement, pulling your handgun up time after time after time, and so you have a feel for it. But is your anchor point the same as when you shoot a peep and pin? No, it's going to be different because we're not looking through the string anymore. We offset the dot to the left of the string a little bit, and so the string isn't even in our focus.
Interesting. And I guess, yeah, since you're not looking through that peep, is your head position a little bit different as well?
We just keep your head straight and we're not tilting at all. If you tilted your head, you'd be like, I can't see the dot.
Yeah.
The only way to see it, we have to look straight at it. So as soon as we're crooked, the dot's not there. So it's much more, it's almost as close as being 100% like purely instinct as you can get, because we're not using the arrow. It's like throwing a football. Just look at the target. And when you pull your bow back, the dot will just be there.
Gotcha. Gotcha. I know whether it's archery or long range stuff. Seems like folks these days are always trying to increase their effective range. Uh, is there a way to? I noticed like some some like I guess graduations in your adjustments there. You can use this like a single pin slider then.
Yep, it's just like a single pin. We don't put a tape on it at all. There's just 18 hash marks. So we might, just like a long range gun, you'd like tape something to your stock, put it on your phone, say, all right, I'm dead on. One click is 20, two clicks, maybe I'm 30, 25, whatever the speed of your bow is. It's a little bit different. Just like that, but we're taking away, you don't have to read anything, say, am I at 20 or not? If you're in hunting situations and you can't really see that, you can always feel those clicks. You know,
Gotcha. And that those clicks are working off. I'd say like I've got a couple different single multi-pin sliders, but they kind of lock in place. But this is more of like a detent based.
yeah, there's 4 stainless detents that slide in and out of the machine grooves that are you can't see them on this, that are in the dovetail. And so every click, those 4 detents are locking in, and we're using 4 because they have to hold up the sight. There's no like a cam lock or where we loosen it up and then tighten it. The detents hold it at every click.
Gotcha. And then I assume you just kind of mark what your quotation mark 0 is in some capacity, and just make sure.
Usually 0 is 20.
Uh-huh.
So we have a little bit different model. This is called our version 4. I don't have a 5 here. Actually, do I have it on this other bow, but so with this one, we use this one more for hunting stuff. Once you're locked in at 20, we don't really need to mess with it. But for tack, we can move this front dial. So if we were locked in at 20 here, I can move this one 6 clicks up front. Now I'm locked in at 40, and I can go to 100. Or
Gotcha.
if I want to shoot a 350 grain arrow here, but now I'm going to go hunting and I'm going to switch to a 500, I can give it a couple clicks up front. Now I'm sighted in with my 500 grain arrow, and I use all the clicks.
Yeah, very cool, man. Very cool. Yeah, I know. I actually, I guess different, but it's funny how over time, things get normalized in, I guess, different genres, if you will, of like, hunting, shooting, competitive shooting, home defense, things like that. And I just feel like the red dot is just something that just keeps migrating from platform to platform. And like I said, it's new to me, but you guys have been doing this for a really long time.
Yeah. The mount is the tough part, and there's a lot of handwork because we're making basically a gun part. So it's not something we're just cutting out and painting. This thing is hard coat anodized to make the surface of the aluminum as hard as steel, and our just tolerances have to be spot on.
For sure. And like I said, we had the Crossfire there. We've got the Spark Solar, which the Spark Solar is what I put on my shotgun. For anybody who's unfamiliar with that sight, it's got a solar panel integrated into the top. And one of the things that I love about that sight is if you have essentially even a moderate amount of ambient light, that dot is going to turn on. The sight's going to operate. It's an independent power source of the battery, so you don't need the solar panel doesn't power the dot and vice versa. So if it's shooting light, you're going to have a dot. And I like heading into the woods knowing that, like, when's the last time I changed the battery or something like that. So that just kind of gives me some peace of mind there. So, but they're both fantastic optics, and coming at different price points for folks. So one will definitely might fit a person better. But yeah. Well, Tim, did we miss anything? Did we miss anything talking about red dots on bows?
I don't think so. I mean, it's different than shooting a peep and pin, but the beauty is it really gets you to be focused on your form, or you just can't see the dot. It's kind of like trying to shoot a red dot on your turkey gun and then you don't have your head down on the stock.
Yeah.
That's why you put the red dot on there. You,
Right.
it makes you put your head down so you see the dot. This, this makes you have the correct form or you don't see the dot.
Very cool. Well, I appreciate you talking about it with us today. If you're out there and, maybe your eyes are aging a little bit and, you're not seeing those pins, as sharply as you wish, or heck, heaven forbid, you quit bow hunting because you couldn't see your pins, this is a great way to get you back in the field, back in the stand, back putting some meat on the table, and having a heck of a lot of fun doing it. So if you fall into that category, check the adjustable red dot out. Give it a look. Maybe put one on your bow and get outside. Thanks everybody for listening. Thank you, Tim. Take care.
You.
We'll catch you on the next one.